Hey everybody, welcome to a very special edition of Weekly Wisdom with Mama Starr. Today's guest is none other than my big brother Ric. Ric is 18 years older than I am, and as I explained in the video, much to his chagrin, I'm sure, he used to change my diapers. I was the little sister and have always been. Anyway, so Ric and I had a conversation about the law of cause and effect and perspective and great stuff. He teaches me so much, and sometimes as a little sister I just kind of sit there and okay, yeah, but this time I really listened to what he had to say, and it was fascinating. He told me things that I didn't know. And so I hope you will enjoy this too, as you watch me and my brother have a conversation. We'll see you on the other side. Hey everybody, welcome to another version of Weekly Wisdom with Mama Starr. This is going to be kind of funny because I guess if I'm Mama Starr, then this would be Uncle Ric. Because this is my brother Ric Dexter, who, believe it or not, I don't know that I've truly believed it, but I've kind of thought that you were a source of great wisdom. Pretty much.
Oh, keep a good thought. Yeah.
I've held that thought in there. I'm sitting here looking at our pictures side by side going, well, there is a family resemblance. I think we look alike. We're definitely have the same quirky sense of humor, and we're funny. Let's face it.
Well, you are, but go ahead.
Okay, so the cool backstory is, okay, number one, I promised Ric that I would mention that he did change my diapers when I was a baby, because Ric was a teenager when I was born, and we've had many adventures together, and one of them has been the evolution of my spirituality, and you're teaching me about Buddhism, because you've been a Buddhist for how many years now?
51.
Wow. I don't think Mom knew about that when you first started.
No, she knew about it, because, I encountered Buddhism while I was overseas. I was supposed to become a Baptist minister, but that didn't quite pan out. And I encountered Buddhism when I was overseas, and she was aware of it when I got back, and she thought it was pretty strange. In fact, at one point, well, she was quite unhappy with it,
Right. And since I've been like out in the woo-woo space, that we've had family members who really think I'm going to hell. And
well, the thing is, but Mom understands it, because I set it all up for you. Okay.
Yeah, you did. You paved the way so that now Mom is out there defending me and saying, no, she's fine. And we've had a lot of conversations about that. But so was it just being overseas, as you call it? I mean, let's call it was in Vietnam, but overseas that drew you to being a Buddhist, or how did that start?
Well, okay. I mean, it really started when I realized that I got a letter pointing out that out of 180 million Americans, I had been selected for an expense-paid tour of Greater Southeast Asia. So, I went to our minister and said, I mean, you're not supposed to kill people. What am I supposed to do here? And he's explained to me that they weren't of the same religion, and they didn't have the same value for life that we did. And so I started looking in other places. I started going to different churches and found out that they shared a lot of things that I just simply couldn't agree with. And I guess, I became an agnostic, dear God, if there is a God, save my soul if I've got one. And then while I was overseas, on R&R in Okinawa, a young lady invited me to a party, and I said, cool, said, what kind of party is it? And she said, it's a birthday party. And I said, wow, very cool. I asked whose birthday it was, and she said it was the Buddha's birthday. And so I figured out what was going on. And I went to this meeting to laugh at the silly people rubbing their beads together, that had no idea what they were thinking or talking about. Found out that I had no idea what they were thinking or talking about. Had questions that I'd asked at a lot of other in a lot of other religious organizations. Like what are the rules and regulations that you expect me to follow, which was generally followed by the question, and do you follow those? And,
Yeah.
but they said, we really don't have any rules and regulations. And I said, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't compute. You've got to have some sort of rules and regulations. And what about killing people? I said, well, it's not a good idea. And I said, well, okay, but surely you've got a rule that says I shouldn't kill people. And he said, it would be better for you to determine right now to dedicate your life to creating a world where children weren't sent to kill children than for me to make some arbitrary rule telling me you can't do something that, by the way, where are you going to be next week? What are you going to do when they try and kill you? So it would be better for you to dedicate your life to creating a world where that doesn't have to happen, where people don't have to make that decision about taking someone else's life. And so I thought about that for a second and said, okay, and then I said, well, what do you expect me to believe in order for this to happen? Because all the traditions that I'd studied said that you had to believe something, and if you didn't work, it was simply because you didn't believe it. And which sounded like circular logic to me. And he pointed out that, because everything is based on the law of causality. If I make a rule for you to follow and your circumstances are different and that rule can't apply where you are, what good is the rule? It depends more on what you do in the circumstances that you're in. Mm. And so I thought about that for a second. And I said, okay, well, then I guess that makes up, I guess I make up my own rules as I go along. And he said, you can try to do that, but it requires a little bit more wisdom than what you probably have within your little pea brain, right? That's not the way he put it.
But you were 18, so yeah.
I realized that I thought about it, I mean, it's, I thought I knew quite a bit, I was 20 years old, and at 20 years old, a heck of a lot, especially because, I'd studied religion and I'd studied morality and I'd studied philosophy. I mean, I used to read Rousseau and Voltaire, for fun. So.
I didn't know you were that smart.
I didn't say I was smart. I said I read them. But at any rate, he said, he said, you can't really believe something unless you've got some experience that shows you that it's true. Blind faith is only good, as long as you never challenge it. You've got to challenge the things that you believe in. And as you challenge the things that you believe in, you either get positive reinforcement or negative reinforcement. The more positive reinforcement that you get, the more likely you are to start believing it. When you start believing it, you're really, you start out with a that's an interesting coincidence. And then all of a sudden there are more and more coincidences if what you're believe in is really functioning. After a number of coincidences, you start to develop some sort of an intellectual belief. That intellectual belief is, okay, I tried it. It seemed to work. I'm going to accept that it seems to work. Eventually, if this continues, if you continue getting the positive effects from the actions that you take, then you start internalizing this belief. And that's what's called faith. That's when a belief is internalized. So, I don't know if I think I got away from your initial question. How did I get into it? And that's how I got into it. A girl invited me to a party. I thought, cool.
It's so funny because everything you went, I'm like, okay, law of cause and effect. Okay, law of of relativity. I mean, it's like, you can give them labels, but they're really just the way thought works, the way mind works, the way energy works.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, it's fascinating to me, because it's like, we're going through a thing with a nightmare client right now. And at the same time, I'm looking at all the dominoes fall, going, I'm seeing the cause and effect here. I'm seeing how this happened, which caused us to react this way, which then led to this lesson that we just then moved into that, and boom, here we are. And it's like, yeah, I love the part. And I think it was something that I discovered on my own journey. There was a poem by Patricia Lynn Riley, and she said, imagine a woman who creates her own spirituality, and who defines the divine, who sees the divine in her own likeness. And that was when I started going, maybe I don't have to buy into this whole idea of all the stuff that I was fed growing up in the Southern Baptist Church. And I mean, when you said the minister, I think I know the minister you're speaking of. That
You probably do.
You know, the minister that you're speaking of, because it's the one that we grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
And wow, how scary. And now we're in a world where we're like, we have more in common than sets us apart. There's more together to bring us together. The law of divine oneness, if you want to call it from my vernacular, it's, we are one. We truly are. Oh, why are you laughing? Why are you laughing?
So I was just thinking, if we start talking about the law of causality, I was going to have to go into the concept of being a person of beginningless time, because we're all, essentially, if you think about it, we're all people of beginningless time. Okay, beginningless time is it's a difficult concept, because in Buddhism they talk about time as I can give you a period of time in which things occurred, and this period of time that's described in Buddhism is longer than the universe is old. And if you think about things that happened before the universe even existed, or the universe as we understand it even existed, then you start thinking of time in a finite matter, but it begins to approach the infinite. But when you think about beginningless time, like we were all at one time in a state of perfect harmony, and through the causes that we've taken, the actions that we've taken over that beginningless time, we come to the circumstances that we have right now. Okay, you said, but create the divine in your own image. Well, your own image is, in Buddhist terms, is this period of beginningless time, because we all existed within that single life in beginningless time.
Yeah. We all started out in the same place and the same thing, and now we're evolving to a place where we have the same feelings and the same experiences. They're unique. I mean, the story's unique. Even for you and I, we grew up in the same family, and yet our stories are completely different. Our experiences of that family are completely different, and yet we have a lot in common.
Right, and it goes beyond, the genetics. It goes beyond the specific family that we're born into in this lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
It goes way back.
Way.
You can go farther and farther and farther and farther and farther and farther and farther back, but essentially you're still right here.
Yeah.
So beginningless time is also this moment.
Oh my God.
I didn't hear you there.
That just blew my mind. Okay.
It's funny, because I was doing some lectures on the Lotus Sutra, and I came across an explanation of the 7th chapter of the Lotus Sutra, and it started talking about beginningless time, And I was preparing for this lecture and my mind got blown. Even though I'd been studying this for 50 years, it's the first time I had ever read this thing that talked about that specific thing. And it blew my mind. And the 15 guys that I was giving the lecture for just sat there with that same expression on their face.
So beginningless time is now, and it's also past. It's not linear then. Is that right?
That's right. It's not linear. Time is not linear. We just think it is.
That's how we define it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Oh, that's deep. That's deep. So when the thing that came to me to ask you about is because I believe that souls travel together, that, we obviously have been through many, many lifetimes together. So mm-hmm. With that concept, why do you think, I don't know if this is too deep, why do you think certain souls come together at certain periods of time?
You're putting time in a linear construct again.
Damn it. Well, I don't know if I can get my head around the other part, but
right.
I'm still working on that.
Okay, essentially, since we all started in the same place, okay, we all travel together. In one lifetime, I might be your mother.
Right.
In another lifetime, you might be my dog.
Did you say dog?
Hey, I always thought if I come back, I want to come back as my dog.
Right.
But we'll have a relationship with one another throughout our lifetimes. Now, there may be times when we are born with a completely different set of people, that we become manifest. I say born, when we become manifest with a completely different set of lives that we have this connection with. Because if you go back, if you look at it, everyone is connected to everyone.
Right.
Now, the fact that we are connected this closely, in this manifest existence, okay, why did that happen? Well, then we get into the laws of causation.
We better talk about that, because was that why we were starting out here anyway? Oh my God, I gave you a headache already. Yay!
Yeah.
No, for the sister.
The thing is, when I start thinking about the law of causation, okay, we're talking about how, the idea that beginningless time is a time that you can't define, that started before anything that we can even conceive of existed. And it's also this moment right here. Okay. When you talk about the law of causation, you have to be thinking in terms of beginningless time.
Wow.
Okay.
It's a constant.
You were just, it's constant, and it's constantly changing,
Yeah.
And the way that it, it's if you want to understand the past, you have to clearly see the present. Okay, but the present is not something that you can look around the room and say, okay, I see the present because I'm in this room, I've got a monitor in front of me, my computer's behind me, picture that my mother painted is up on the wall, that is not where you are. Where you are, again, in Buddhism, there's the concept of the 3,000 worlds in the momentary state of existence. That means there are 3,000 different ways. There may be more, but there are 3,000 defined ways that this moment exists, okay? Each instant, within each instant, you're moving within these 3,000 different worlds. It's called 3,000 worlds in a momentary state of existence, and a momentary is defined as 1/60th of the sound of the snap of a finger. Okay, so and within a snap of a finger, you've traversed 60 of these 3,000 worlds. So how many snaps of a finger does it take to you even say your own name? When you say your own name, you encompass the whole 3,000 worlds.
Wow.
Okay, now the 3,000 worlds is, okay, there's a mathematical formula for it. Okay, you have the 10 worlds. We all, it's important. It's important.
Okay, all right. If you want to give me a formula.
If you want to understand causation, that you have basically 10 worlds, okay? Hell, hunger, anger, animality, rapture, tranquility, realization, absorption, bodhisattva, and enlightenment, okay? And each of those 10 worlds exist within each of the other 10 worlds. So, for instance, when I said hell, okay, what's hell?
What's hell? It's a concept in which you punish yourself over and over again.
That's one way of looking at it, sure. When Matthew died, I was in hell.
Yeah. It's deep despair, I guess, would be the best definition for it. Yeah.
Right. And it within the world of hell, exists the world of hunger. You want to get out.
Yeah.
You want to get out of where you are. The world of anger, which is essentially arrogance. Why is this happening to me?
Right.
And but also exists the worlds of rapture and the worlds of tranquility, the worlds of bodhisattva. In my despair, I saw everyone else's despair around me, and I wanted to help them out.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So the world of bodhisattva exists there.
Right.
Then I was able to do things that helped them out. The world of the Buddha, the world of compassion existed there.
Right.
Okay. All within that one instant of hell. Everything else was going on. Okay. So you've got 10 worlds within the 10 worlds. So there's 1,000 worlds, right?
Yeah.
Or 100 worlds. Okay. And then you've got the 10 factors, and I won't bother going into the 10 factors, but it does relate to causation, which we'll get into a couple of specific ones in a minute, And all this exists within the world of yourself, the world of the people around you, and the world of your environment. Okay, so all these 3,000 things are going on all the time. So if you want to understand the present, you got to figure out, okay, what's happening within those 3,000 worlds.
Wow, and how do you do that?
Well,
you start counting off. By the time you start counting off, you've gone into another 3,000 worlds.
If you start counting, you forget about what's going on outside you anyways.
Right, exactly.
But it's a pointless exercise, Just like trying to figure out what causes you made that put you into this circumstance is a pointless exercise.
Right.
You can in Buddhism, the lotus is the symbol of cause and effect. Okay, because the lotus is the only plant on this planet anyway that has the flower and seeds at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
As the flowers, with other plants, as the flowers diminish, the seeds start to grow.
Right.
But with the lotus, the flower and seeds are both growing at the same time. And so it's talking about the simultaneity of cause, the seeds, affect the flower. It's happening at the same time. So every time that you make any kind of a cause, how do we make causes? With our thoughts, our words, and our actions.
Right.
I used to think, if I can control 2 out of 3, I'm okay. But it doesn't work like that, because your thought is really the first part of
right.
the cause.
Thought, energy follows thought. So your thought is where it starts.
That's right. And so you are making a cause, even with the first thought.
Yeah.
Now the cause may get more serious as you go into the words, I think you're a jerk. I think you're a jerk. By the way, I'm going to tell you you're a jerk. I'm going to let everybody else know that you are. Okay. Thoughts, words, and actions. Now, if I just thought it and held off from, going on and making some expression of that thought, okay, I didn't stop the fact that I made the cause.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay. And so
it's there, and you can't unthink a thought.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. You can't. And so ideally you want to create a condition in your life where you don't think those thoughts. I'm still banking on 2 out of 3, okay? but you can start off, by changing the outcome by dealing with, okay, what's the action that I don't need to take? It's kind of like everybody's on the internet, and everybody is sending out these crazy things. And so, if you decide, okay, and I thought about something and I put it into words in my mind and I'm all ready and I put it down on paper and I punch send. Okay. Stop before you punch send.
Yeah.
Take it out of the realm of your email or whatever, Facebook, take it out of that realm and put it into the realm of your actual life. Okay. Stop before you punch send.
Yeah.
You're angry at somebody. You take it out. You want to release that. And so instead of finding a way within yourself to deal with that anger, you express it by striking out at them. Okay. That's punching send. Stop before you punch send.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, as you work backwards from that point, you've got your actions that you've managed to control. Okay. Start, before you verbalize in your mind, I have this anger, recognize that you have the anger and do something about it at that point before you get to the words.
Right.
You can't stop the fact that you have the anger. Okay.
Right.
Anger is a natural thing. It's one of the, and we're human beings. We're going to feel anger.
Right.
Right. Eventually, you get to the point where you feel anger, but you feel anger at injustice.
Mm-hmm.
You feel anger at suffering. But instead of and against those, you follow through with your words and your actions because you're going to make positive actions.
Right.
Karma, by the way, do you know what karma means? The word karma.
Do tell. Do tell. I was like, well, namaste means the divine in me recognizes the divine in you. What's karma mean?
Karma means action. It means what you do.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. People think karma means what happened because of what you do. Okay. Hold on just a second.
Okay.
Somebody was making noise in the other room. So,
Karma, action.
Karma, right? The word karma means action. So it means what you do. Okay. Now the fact is, and this is where cause and effect takes on an entirely different meaning, a different dimension. Because I was reading the second chapter of the Lotus Sutra, which is where it begins to explain this idea, but it never uses the word effect. It uses the term cause and circumstance. Okay, so your circumstance is where you are right now. Your circumstance is this 3,000 worlds, that are in a momentary state of existence that are surrounding you, that you're within, that is your circumstance that's been brought about by all your previous actions. Okay, your circumstance right now is a result of everything that you have ever thought or done. Okay, and sometimes you did things that mitigated bad causes. Simply by taking a different action, by accepting a different karma. Mm-hmm. Your karma is what you do in this instant. Okay?
Wow.
Action that you take, and we're creatures of habit. We have habitual actions. Mm-hmm. We react to things that, you're talking about your difficult client, and sometimes, because the way that you respond is the way that you habitually have responded. And so in order to change your circumstance, you have to change your karma. You have to change the action that you're taking. And you have to change that action by creating a different type of action that becomes your habitual reaction.
So karma is in your control right now. Karma is not something that's out there. Karma
Exactly.
is the choice you make in the moment.
Exactly.
Which then creates a circumstance.
Well, the circumstance is already there, but the action that you take creates the next circumstance.
The next circumstance. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And the thing is, like, all of these things have happened over, since beginningless time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so consequently, this moment is what beginningless time is, because everything depends on your karma, on your action at this moment. You determine the future by your action right now.
I'm happy about that.
That's right, because if my future was determined by things I had done in the past, we're all sunk.
Right. I remember, it was so funny too, because I remember at a time, and you may recall that between divorces, I was rather insane.
And you got over that.
I did get over that. And
I'll take your word for it, but go ahead.
But I did, thank you. But trust me on this one. But the really funny part was that I remember I'm making my bed one day, and I'm like, I'd been making some rather questionable choices, but I thought, I should have a really good karmic credit account here, because I've been doing some good things too. And I was like, I don't think that's how that works.
Not exactly.
I don't think you get a karmic credit account.
It'd be nice. Like, I'm going to do a couple of things that aren't so great, but I'm going to save up some good things.
Yeah.
And some point in the no, I mean, because your circumstance at the moment. Okay, I didn't mean to interrupt your bed. Go ahead. Get back to making your bed. And you were looking at positive things that you had done that would change that. Tell me how that works.
It didn't. It was when I came up with the idea.
I was going to explain
don't
to you
get a karmic credit account. There's none of that. You make this choice. It was like, and I preach this to my kids forever. You choose the behavior, you choose the consequences.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was when it really hit me that no. You're making a choice that is not in alignment with who you really are. And so you're not free of any kind of consequence that comes from this. I ended up getting my heart broken, and that was the consequence of it. But the whole idea that, oh no, I could just go ahead and do this and dishonor this other person and it'll be fine was no. You don't get that. You dishonor somebody, you dishonor them. Mm-hmm. And there's a consequence for that.
Mm-hmm.
Even if that consequence is guilt.
Did
I get all into a whole bunch of deep stuff for you?
No, you might see the consequence as guilt. Okay, you might see the consequence, but the thing is, like, we tend to again go in such a linear fashion that we think, okay, I did this, therefore this is the consequence. Mm-hmm. Okay, I did this, and that went into my accumulated circumstance. Okay, it's something that you disrespected this person, and so you feel like there will be a specific related consequence that you can see.
Right.
The consequence is not going to necessarily have a relationship that you can see. Okay, the general consequence of disrespecting another person is having others disrespect you.
There you go. Yeah.
The common consequence. But the thing is, it all goes into, I'm married, okay?
You are.
I am.
For 42 years.
That's right. And there have been times when we may not have particularly had the highest regard for one another during the 42 years, and sometimes justified, Yeah. But when I find that I've done something that is disrespectful towards Kathy, okay, I can sit there and say, I'm sorry, mea culpa, please forgive me and all that kind of stuff. But I've got to do something to change that element within myself.
Yeah.
That made me disrespect her.
Right.
Okay? I mean, she could have been having a bad day. She could have been mad at me for something that I'd done. There could have been any number of things that brought it about, and I could try and go through those and change. Well, I'm going to change that. I'm going to, apologize for that, and I'm going to go fix the washing machine, and I'm going to go do this, and that should take care of everything. But it doesn't, because that's just dealing with the external forces. I haven't dealt with myself.
Right.
In order to change your action, in order to change your karma, okay, that change has to come from within you, and it has to come something deeper than well, I did this, so I'm going to fix this.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what is it? There are thousands hacking at the branches of evil, while no one looks at the roots.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the root of that disrespect?
Mm-hmm.
It came from something inside of me.
Right.
Okay. And so I start meditating, focusing, chanting, focusing on Kathy's happiness, on Kathy's better living circumstance. Okay. And so, what I want from within myself is Kathy's happiness. When that starts changing, then I've pretty much mitigated the effect of the disrespect of the initial cause, the root cause. Okay. And so, like by changing the way I feel about my environment, the way I feel about what's going on around me, I'm more able to recognize, okay, it's very likely that she's having other problems that are within her circumstance, really don't have that much to do with me, other than the fact that I happen to be in the room and somebody's got to take the blame for this. And so instead of getting angry at her, instead of instead of expressing my anger, my hurt feelings, whatever they are, in some sort of thing that's going to be negative, I sit there, I am trying to develop within myself the natural reaction of she's having problems, she's suffering. People don't act that way unless they're suffering in some way or another.
Right.
So is there anything I can do to alleviate that suffering? Now, if it's a headache, sure, I can go get aspirin, But, the suffering is not the external circumstance. It's not what you see.
Right.
I was talking about the 10 factors, and a couple of the factors are the internal cause, the latent effect, and the manifest effect. Okay. The internal cause, the internal cause I create when I show my disrespect, when I let my environment tell me what to do instead of me telling my environment what's going on.
Right.
Okay. Ideally, most people in the world are reactionary. They just react to their environment. They react to what's going on instead of taking control of their environment, taking control of what's happening around them. Walk into a room full of angry people. Everybody's up in arms. Well, let's say you walk into a political rally.
Oh, God. Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about politics. I could be talking about either side, but you walk into a room full of angry people.
Yeah.
Okay. And you were feeling pretty good when you walked in, but how long does it take you to become one of those angry people?
Right.
You're being driven by your circumstance, being directed and driven by your environment. Okay. Whereas, like if you can really develop that strength of character within yourself, where you walk into a room full of angry people and at least one or two people become less angry because you don't join them in their anger.
Right.
So again, like we're talking about, the law of causation, we're talking about the circumstance. You walk into this circumstance, I was telling somebody, it's kind of like the refrigerator salesman that went to Alaska, and somebody said, "Why are you going to Alaska? It's cold up there." He said, "Yeah, nobody owns a refrigerator." Okay, so you become the refrigerator salesman that goes to Alaska. You become the calming effect, the calming cause within that circumstance.
Right, right.
Okay? And and it all has to come from like you having control of your environment instead of allowing your environment to control you.
Right. So it's like you walk into that room of angry people, and the brain starts working. The amygdala goes into overdrive and floods your body with adrenaline and all of that stuff. And you have to be able to go, not me, not my choice.
Yeah, right.
Let me send peace.
Right. But the thing is, like that lizard brain, that amygdala did release that energy. Okay?
Yeah.
The question is not, how do I stop the energy? It's what do I do with it?
Oh, good question. Oh, yeah.
The same thing. Like you get in a fight with your significant other.
Yeah.
Okay. As soon, yeah, I know, it never happens to you, right?
We never get into fights.
Right. But the first thing that happens is somebody's lizard brain jumps up.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the other person's lizard brain jumps up. You got a couple of lizards fighting.
Yeah.
And there are no humans involved anymore.
Okay?
Right. But like once you can really develop that enlightened nature of your life, you say, okay, this energy is kicking up. Okay, fight or flight. Okay, well, instead of flight, let's go into protection.
Right.
Okay, protection, not for me, protection for both of us. There's a whole bunch of energy flowing right now. How can I use this energy to protect both of us?
Oh, good. Yeah.
Now, a lot of times we don't have the wisdom necessary to do that.
Yeah.
But when you stop and think that, remember that moment of beginningless time, that moment when we all live together in harmony, all life, all existence was in harmony. Mm-hmm. Okay. Instead of trying to think, oh man, what do I do? What do I say? How do I do this? Because pretty soon you're just tying yourself up in knots, and not only are you fighting with the other person, you're fighting with yourself.
Right.
But you go back to that moment of beginningless time, and you say, with this energy, I can create a protective shield that stops all the negative energy from flowing in.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. I guess the trick is, how do you do that?
That's a very good question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. And I have the responses work for me for all these years.
Yeah.
And so, I utilize, it's a mantra, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, and I utilize that mantra, mm-hmm. to slow my mind down.
Right.
Stop all that external stuff that's driving me.
Yeah.
And say, okay, let me drive this from within.
Right. My mantra is all as well as in this moment.
It works.
It works for me.
For you. If it works for you.
It works for me, exactly. And it was really funny because it's like we did, when we were having our big, hairy, funky ass crisis, all I knew was I needed to go ahead and panic and I needed to cry. And every time I thought about calling Don, our brother, I start to cry. So I was like, clearly I need to call Don. So.
Did it work?
It worked. I called Don. Don was like, go ahead, swear some more. Okay, cry. Now go ahead and do some more crying. Okay. Now, never, ever, ever do this again. Don't you ever get a nightmare customer like that unless you do this. And he was, okay, you're crying again. Okay, go ahead, cry some more. I would just,
Uh-huh.
but I didn't want to take it out on Scott, even though,
Right.
I didn't want to bring that energy because there was no solution there. The
Mm-hmm.
solution was, let me get out of this state.
Mm-hmm.
Let me find someone to help me get out of this state.
Right.
And then I'll know what to do.
So you took the energy that your lizard created.
Yes.
Well, unfortunately, that lizard is also your brain.
Yes, it is.
So
Absolutely. I recognize it's all me.
that bit of energy that you brought out and said, okay, I have to use this to change. I have to use that energy to change the situation. The only way I can use that energy is to find some other outlet for it.
Right.
Okay? Outside of your current situation and into your current circumstance, because we often confuse our situation with our circumstance.
Oh, explain that. Go ahead.
Your situation is what you see, what you're able to see right around you right now. Your
Right.
circumstance is the 3,000 worlds in a momentary state of existence.
All of the other stuff. Yeah.
It's all of everything that's around.
Yeah.
Whereas your situation is the part that you can see right now.
Right. Right. And so, yeah, I could not see past the freak out. So I knew that I needed to do a thing just to get beyond the freak out. I do as a coach, I tell my clients, go ahead and panic first. Go ahead, get that out, then figure out what to do. And so then I was like, well, I got to take my own advice. I'm going to go ahead and panic. So I did. And it turned out good. And I learned so much from that situation that I'm like, well, okay.
Right. Well, one thing you learned is, I have to remove myself from this situation. Okay. Now, you don't always have that. You don't always have that outlet.
Right.
You don't always have a way to remove yourself from the situation.
Right.
And so what you have to do is create another situation within yourself.
Right. Now that takes practice, do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sit there and say, oh, I'm going to create another situation within myself. Okay,
I'm gonna think happy thoughts.
Go ahead. Yeah. Bubbles.
I'm gonna go look at pictures of puppies.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I mean, the thing is, it really takes a lot of practice, because what you're doing is you're fighting against your developed instinct, which has created a karma,
Right.
which is the action that you would normally take. And somebody explained it to me one time. They said, your karma is what you habitually do.
Right.
Okay. So if you have a habit of doing something, if you have a habit of smoking, you have to learn not to smoke.
Right.
If you have a habit of over drinking, you have to learn what your limit is on your drinking.
Right.
And so you have to apply those lessons. And it's just like, and so, what is it? Yeah, I was just seeing stories about just two people that were killed because they got in a fight on the road and they started shooting at each other.
Oh my God.
Until one of them shot the other one, and then when he swerved, he crashed into the other one. They both got killed. Okay. You have to develop a habit within yourself of not pulling your gun out and shooting people.
Right.
And I know you don't. Most of the people that are going to be listening to this don't pull out their guns and shoot people.
Right.
But remember.
But you can shoot people with words. You can shoot people with anger. You can shoot people with all of that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's right. Don't punch sand. Don't pull the trigger.
Right. It's that the word that comes to me right now as you're saying that is non-reaction. A lot of times I tell people when they're in situations where, oh, this person is controlling me and they make me so mad. And I'm like, the only way to win is not to play. Mm-hmm. So you practice not reacting. Yes, that may anger you, but you don't point it towards that person, because then you're creating this dynamic of action, reaction, anger coming back and forth, and you're not solving anything. One of you has to step out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I often think of it as allow them to punch a pillow.
There you go.
You may think you're hitting me, but you're just punching a pillow.
Yeah.
It didn't affect me.
It really is. It's back to that, the world is your mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
so, it is exactly what's showing up around you. And that's one of my things is in my lesson. It's like, if you have chaos around you, surrounding you, there's chaos inside of you.
Right.
And you
Right.
address that.
Right. I always like the expression with the mirror of, if you get up and don't like what you're seeing in the mirror, it doesn't help to put makeup on the mirror.
I love that when that Texas wisdom comes out. That's just so by the way, how long have you lived in Texas?
Since 70,
Getting directions.
71.
Wow.
So, I mean,
starting route to Austin.
I'm not.
Head north.
Are you going to Austin? Siri thinks you're going to Austin.
Just a second here. Let me turn this off. Oh, I don't know how that happened. I was actually punching a button to see what time it was. Okay. My circumstance is.
Yes.
My circumstance is that I pay too much attention to my phone. Okay.
That's all right. That's all right. I think we're nearly end of our hour, and so I think it's just really funny to share with you some of Mom's adventures with Alexa.
Oh, great! Oh, great! Yeah, yeah. I know you said you're arguing with her now.
Yes, she is. And we for background for everybody, Rick sent my mom Alexa, the little Amazon thing, and so I will get a call a day that damn Alexa. And when she first got it, she was like trying to stop herself from saying thank you to Alexa whenever Alexa gave her information.
Why stop yourself? I mean,
she's like, well, I'm just not gonna. If I'm just gonna say thank you because I need to. So now I get these phone calls of, well, I told Alexa to make this list and she's not doing it, and I don't know why she doesn't. Oh, it's hilarious. It's so funny. But she's just, I always tell people she's the most amazing woman I've ever met. She never gives up. She keeps going. She gave birth to both of us, and look at how we're out in the world being amazing. So
and frightening the heck out of her all the time. Yeah.
I can imagine you did give her a few heart attacks before you went off to your pleasure trip in East Asia.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Well, I don't know. I mean, everything is relative. Okay. Relative. Everything is relative to the circumstance. For instance, when we snuck out at night and went to the swimming pool at the high school, climbed over the fence, swam in the swimming pool, got back, got caught having gone out. She thought we were headed for Folsom Prison. Juvenile straight to Folsom Prison, jumping over a fence. Now, if that was the worst my kid ever did, was go swim in the high school swimming pool in the middle of the night, I don't think I'd be thinking juvenile delinquent at this point.
No.
However,
by the time she got to me, and I'd gone to a desert party after a cast party and got back home, I walked in and I spun a yarn about why we had to go out to that desert party.
Uh-huh.
And I told her that it was because my best friend Audrey's little sister went out there, and we had to go get her.
Right.
Except that Audrey's little sister was in the back seat making out with her boyfriend when we went out to the desert party, but still.
Right. And Mom believed that.
Well, no, Mom said, you had better get in bed before your father gets home.
Right.
And I did. And I mean, Gina was living with us at the time. She walks up to me. She's like, I can't believe you just got away with that. I was like, I'm going to bed. I'll see you later.
I mean, with all of the kids that Mom raised, going out to a desert party was not a big deal.
No.
Getting caught by Dad would have been, but
getting caught by Dad would have been the death of me. But yeah, he was not happy with me. And I mean, I can still to this day feel his eyes boring into the back of my head as he came in and checked on me in my room. And I'm just like,
Okay, so mom now has an Alexa to holler about
Yeah, she does.
to try and discipline, you know.
Yes. It keeps her entertained and she's having a great time with it. And I would say I am so glad that our souls traveled together on this journey. And I appreciate you and love you so much. And I thank you for your wisdom for this last hour and spending time with me.
Well, I love you, kid. Thanks for asking the questions. I don't know. I usually don't know what I know until somebody asks me.
There you go. It's true. It's true. All right. Thanks, Rick.
Okay, take care, kid.
Love.
Okay, love you. Take care.
Hey, thanks so much for watching that interview with my brother. Join me next week when my guest is the wonderful Steph Jensen, who is a health coach, and she's going to be talking about manifesting detox diet. Can't wait to hear what she has to say. So thanks so much for joining me. If you get a chance, like, subscribe, and catch me on Facebook. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.